Good morning, Leigh.
Good morning. How are we?
It's good to be here.
It is. I feel like we're truly into the meat of season 3 on Queer Gals Watch the West Wing now.
I've been having to hold back messaging you when I'm watching the episodes because I feel like I need to get back into pouring all of my responses and thoughts into the shared document because I so desperately want to talk to you about everything we're watching.
I know. I feel like season 3 may be teeing up to be my favourite season yet of The West Wing.
I just think I love a show where every episode I watch, I'm like, this is my new favourite episode. It speaks to quality, you know, and I'm just a quality gal.
The duologues, Fiona, the duologues.
Yeah, Aaron's like beside himself this season.
Yeah.
Welcome back, dear listeners, to another episode of Queer Gals Watch the West Wing with myself and the lovely Leigh.
Hello.
We are here today watching season 3 of the West Wing, episode 4, on the day before. And Leigh and I thought that we would actually just start this episode with a little kind of trigger warning, if we will, Leigh, just about some of the content in today's episode. Covers an event that happens in Jerusalem, a suicide bomber. And a lot of the discussion in this episode surrounds the political relationship between the USA, Palestine, and Israel. And it's very much pulling on that from the political zeitgeist of 2001.
Yes.
But Leigh and I thought it was pertinent, given that it is 2025, just to let people know that that's what this episode is discussing and whether or not that might be something that they feel like they want to listen to right now.
Yes, and I think it's important to both of us to caveat our discussion of this episode by saying, stop the genocide and free Palestine.
Yes. And so without further ado, Leigh, shall we jump into On the Day Before?
Yes, let's do it.
Excellent. So we're on our previously on, Leigh, and I would love to say that we are balls deep in the veto talk.
Yes, we are.
And also the veto of the estate tax.
Yes, watching this episode, I was so glad that our previous study session was the veto because I feel like it was quite crucial to the understanding of what happens now in this episode.
I would be truly lost without that, Leigh. I don't have beef with this being a storyline. I just do need some whimsy.
Yeah, it's not very sexy.
No. But what I would like to do is talk about the people that we meet surrounding this veto, because there are some very fun side characters. We're still in darkness, FYI.
We're still very much artistically in camera obscura.
Yeah, low lighting, incredibly low lighting.
The West Wing is suddenly a noir.
Yes, yes, that is very much the energy. Leigh, do you want to discuss the man that we meet at the opening of this episode?
So there is a man carrying a document box, and I don't know, I wasn't clear initially whether he was carrying the veto, but no, it would appear that he is carrying the bill from Congress, much like a mob boss doing a drug deal.
Yeah, truly. And he enters the office of the executive clerk, and we meet lovely Donald Dolan, a sweet, sweet newbie. And the aforementioned mob boss is Mr. Kolievsky, who is the clerk of the house. Fun job.
Very fun job.
Like very powerful. Admin.
I think I would quite like that job. Kind of just striding around the place. I would obviously be in a heel, click-clacking over the marble floors. I think I'd really enjoy it.
Yeah, and I think it's just the thing of being like, no, you will see me now. I'm the clerk of the house. And he does carry himself, like we say, with a mob boss mentality, but also with the mentality of just like a bad bitch getting shit done.
Yes.
But he's delivered something back, which we know now to be the actual bill. And the vibes, not positive, re-veto from the clerk of the house. But we don't really get a chance to sit in that much because we're walking into yet another HR nightmare from Josh Lyman.
What I will just like to note before we move on is that Donald Dolan, the very, very sweet newbie who's having the bill delivered to him by the clerk of the house, puts far too much respect on Josh's name when he says, I just need to speak to Mr. Lyman. And I was just thinking, that you said that with far too much reverence.
I don't think he's ever met Josh. I think he's like, wow, I'm going to get to meet Josh Lyman. Celeb of the West Wing.
Celeb.
Big name on campus. Unfortunately, the man in question, Joshua Lyman, is just like asking once again his assistant to do stuff that she has absolutely no business doing.
The way that Donna is tying Josh's bow tie is borderline indecent. Also, who in God's name is tying their boss's tie like that? I do feel the need to note once more that Josh is in fact her boss.
I just think that we're campaigning for re-election. We've been in this role for a long time. Josh, how have you not managed to learn how to tie bow ties? Think of the number of events he's going to where he's needing to wear a bow tie. At this point, it's performative. What's it called when men pretend they don't know anything?
Weaponized incompetence.
That's what it is. It's weaponized.
Funny how that was just on the tip of my tongue.
On the tip of the tongue. That's exactly what Josh is doing, which is like, oh, me know how to do it. Me need you to help me because I'm just a silly baby. And I hate it. Also, Donna's like, very politely kind of like, can we carve aside some time to chat? And you can see this twinkle in his eye where he's like, oh my God, she wants to talk about how she has a crush on me. Did you see that? And actually she's like, no, I'm really stressed out because like I really like this guy and I can't see him and I know I can't, but I need to tell you. And just the fact that like her being like, I have something really important to talk to you about, like we need to chat, is him being like, oh, I guess everyone fancies me. I'm such a stud.
Now, what I will say is if you were going to tie your boss's tie, which in and of itself is a weird thing to do, but if you were going to tie your boss's tie, I don't know that you would tie it on your boss's body. I think you'd probably tie it loose and then allow them to kind of put it over the head and tighten. Surely.
A classic necktie, yes, but a bow tie, you can't do that. You have to like tie it on. But I think it's having tried to tie bow ties. She did a show that was based in the 1920s for many years. It's like 100% easier to do it yourself. Like in terms of like looking in the mirror, it just is. And you know what? Like who can tie a bow tie? Sam Seaborn. Who would love to coach Josh through learning how to tie a bow tie? Sam Seaborn.
Correct.
Go to your friend. Stop asking this woman who works for you.
Yeah. What I will say is we've had less teledonnas so far this season.
Yeah, and I hope we don't lose those.
No, but also what I do love is that I feel she is being given more intellectual license in this season. Like, I think it's nice to see that as one of the kind of two female leads of, well, I guess we have more Stockard in this season, but as one of the kind of main female leads of the show, I do like that not all of her scenes anymore are centered around, I don't get it.
Yeah, that's true. She does have more agency, I think, towards the end of last season and this season. But just to like crash through that moment of like growth for a female character, should we talk about how hot CJ looks in this red dress?
Oh my God.
They finally learnt how to dress her for a formal occasion.
Yeah.
There is no stole, Leigh.
There is not a stole in sight.
There's no wrap. It's just an off-the-shoulder red silk dress.
She has one shoulder fully out. It is a one-shouldered number.
I'd go as far as to call it a gown. And she looks bomb.
It's incredible. Wow.
We're kind of aware now that there's some sort of formal occasion happening. Also, I love the fact that CJ looks amazing and Toby's just like getting on with his life.
Yeah.
She also is, I think, socially anxious about having to sit next to people at this dinner.
Yes, socially anxious about having to sit next to a chemist.
Which I get. I really do. And so she's asking Toby to quiz her on the research that she's done on this Nobel Prize winner. And I just love that Toby was like, I don't want to do that, but I don't know why you're so worried. You're a lively conversationalist. Which to me is just like a real insight into me and my partner getting ready to go to like any sort of like event where I don't know people, is me being like, these are all the things that I've learned about the people that you know. Quiz me on them. And him being like, I don't know, like, you're fine.
I did feel the need to add that asking to be quizzed is a very Virgo energy.
I take nothing but positives from that personally. Yeah. 'Tis my month, 'tis my season.
Oh my God, yeah, happy Virgo season.
Thank you. So there's a fancy dinner tonight. We find out that it's a state dinner for Nobel Prize winners. Jed's going to be in his element as a Nobel Prize winner.
As a fellow Nobel Prize winner.
But the scores on the doors are that 7 different Republicans have cancelled coming to the dinner because there's an emergency meeting of... I just put an emergency meeting of Republicans, but I mean, what I mean is I guess they've been called to the House.
I think it's just House Republicans are having a meeting.
Which makes us feel like the House is going to override the veto.
Yeah, I don't know that this is a official Senate floor moment. I think this is like a
caucus meeting up or something.
Loads of kind of Republicans in a dark, smoky room.
Yeah, love
talking
that.
Strategy.
Yeah, I love that.
Behind closed doors.
Yeah. Martin Sheen's in a tux. We love to see it.
I am sorry. The swagger on Martin Sheen in this tux.
Yes, and also just his general approach to state. We know he loves state dinners. Would you like to quote what he says about this particular one and the absence of the Republicans?
They could have left after the entree. They're going to miss hot pumpkin soup with cheese gnocchi and chèvre brioche. It's a pretty big price to pay just to override my veto.
Jed is a food guy.
He's a foodie.
Gnocchi. Cheese gnocchi.
Yes, I think that is how Americans say it.
No, that's fine. I find that's whimsical and I needed it. Now, Leigh, coming back to something that has raised its ugly head throughout our journey on this show. When the gang are so confident that something can't happen, this means that it's going to happen, right? So when everyone's like, they don't have the votes to overturn it, they don't have the votes. I'm like, well, obviously they have the votes. Yeah. That's obviously what's going to happen. Which makes me nervous, I think. And I feel like everyone's saying that they aren't nervous, but I mean, Jed's talking about pumpkin soup and CJ won't stop talking about chemistry. So
yeah, she says, you've got to be a cryptographer. They speak in combinations of letters that don't spell anything, but end up meaning table salt.
Which is funny.
Yeah.
It is funny. And I do hope that someone in the writer's room was married to a chemist. And this is to go for chemistry. I feel like there's got to be a little inside joke there.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I did briefly in my straight era date a physicist. And I have to say, the fact that he was a physicist, he was in love with himself over it. Loved it. And I think it is underestimated the amount of kind of ego in the science world.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The thing is, though, every industry has their rock and roll stars. Do you know what I mean?
That is so true.
Everyone's like, well, do you know him? He's kind of a big deal in physics. And you're
do you know
whoa.
him? He's kind of a big deal in pharmaceuticals.
Yeah. So, I mean, rock on. I personally, because I think I'm a kind of jack of all trades, I feel like it's really embarrassing to be really good at just one thing. It's classic Virgo energy. I feel like you should be excellent at everything or just don't bother trying at all. But that's something for me to talk about with my therapist. Meanwhile, Donald Dolan reappears, a sweet newbie, to kind of deliver the information from the clerk.
To deliver the bill to the president for his signature or lack thereof.
And therefore, this is the thing that we do the stamp of the veto on. Yeah. So this is where I got, okay. So this is the
big moment for Donald. He is delivering a bill to the president of the United States for his signature. And he does so well. He just has one little stammer.
Yeah, he does so good. And it's really fun because CJ's there and Toby and Jed gets his beautiful pen out. He signs it and then he does his big stamp and then he goes, NaCl, CJ.
What?
Table salt. Send it back. and then we smash into credits. That was amazing. The veto stamp. This is what table salt is. Send it back from Jed. Gorgeous.
Gorgeous. And I will just a note for the actor playing Donald Dolan, the fact that he had some real comedy physical genius in this scene, just trying to make himself as small as possible amongst all of the leads. And it was really funny.
Yeah, he did a good day's work.
Yeah.
We open up the episode onto a press briefing. And I'm just going to read out this quote from CJ because it's just gorgeous writing. which opponents call the death tax or the we're coming to get your children tax. We call it a tax on fewer than 2% of American estates valued at over $1 million, the revenue from which helps fund frivolous democratic spending programs such as teaching people to read and curing disease.
Can you tell us what you're wearing?
It's a dress. Stunning. The tell us what you're wearing question has come from sort of an entertainment journalist.
Yeah.
Called Sherry, who we will meet more of later on.
Yes. Also, we have Carol appearing.
Hey, Carol.
We love Carol. It's lovely to see. And she has a lovely little quippy moment of a walk and talk with CJ post-press briefing where she kind of teases CJ over the moment with the entertainment journalist Sherry, where Carol says, "What, are you afraid she's going to misspell Diane Cook?"
Absolute zinger.
Absolute zinger. I love that there still continues to be a flirtatious energy from Carol towards CJ.
It's what
it's the
we
kind
want.
of fun flirtatious energy that you know is going nowhere, but you're just doing it for the joy of flirting.
Yeah, and both of them are like, this is just what we do. And I love that. So the news is there's going to be a vote in 90 minutes in the House. Stressful. So it's all systems go. We're making camp in the Roosevelt Room. Toby's on fire.
Yes, he kind of barks at Ginger that he's going to need 10 phone lines in a very kind of like diner waitress way.
Oh my God, yeah. like he's ordering breakfast.
But I'm going to need 10 phone lines and a number 2 and a number 6.
I'll have a cup of coffee. I'll have the pancakes. I'll have the hash browns. Hold the sausage. But yeah.
He's in his element.
But the thing that I love is that Ginger's like, yes. I love it when you're like this. We're a team.
Yeah. And I think the thing that makes it respectful from Toby is that he always uses people's first names. He doesn't just like bark at people. He's always like, Ginger, I'm going to...
Yes. There's a big difference between him running a room and then Bruno running a room. Because I feel like Bruno's like, you should all just work for me and do what I say. Whereas I feel like Toby's like, no, but like Ginger always sets up the lines. That's what she does. He plays to people's strengths because he's a good boss and a good manager. Very quick side note, because this happens a few times in this episode. Sam mentions to Charlie that he's probably going to get offered immunity during the inquest. Are we calling it an inquest?
During the congressional investigation into...
That's the phraseology I was looking for. And Charlie just looks like very young and very worried. And then it's just like, I'm not allowed to talk about it. And then kind of scurries off. So we'll come back to Charlie. So news on the vote is that a congressman called Kimball has flipped. So he was going to be with us and now he is not anymore.
He's going to be voting to override.
To override. There's not really time to sit in that because Margaret arrives just looking stunning and is like, Leo, Nancy is in your office. Which is where we get to like the B plot of this episode, which is our kind of the two battling plot lines. And it's not good news. It's the news that a suicide bomber has set off explosives outside of a cafe in Jerusalem and killed 10 people. But 2 of those are American students who were there on holiday. So it's time to go to the Situation Room.
There's something really interesting about the stakes that are given to this situation by Nancy coming to Leo's office rather than them meeting in the Situation Room.
Yeah.
I think it adds an extra layer of a sense of gravity to the fact that kind of 2 American students have died.
I think that's exactly what it is. I feel like we need to meet in your office because we need to talk about these 2 guys. And like, there's a chain of events that's just about them and their families being notified. And then there's the sit room, which is like the political response. So it's like the human interest and the political side as well, which I do think is balanced very well in this episode. It's like, like you say, the gravity of the situation kind of always comes back to the fact that like a family has lost 2 sons.
Yeah.
The whole scene that happens in the sit room is so tense. But it does feel like when Jed comes in, he's much more confident in this scenario.
Yes.
Like he's leading the room. Whereas I feel like in last season, there were times when he was like constantly looking to Leo to step in and be like, what's the best like route here, to use an Americanism. And so that feels good. But let's flip to some light relief, sponsored by CJ and Margaret.
Love this as a dynamic duo.
So they just do a skit, just a simple skit about the periodic table. And what I conclude from this is I'd love more scenes with those two.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what we come back to again and again is like we just always rejoice whenever there is a scene with two of these kind of female powerhouses in the show together. It's just always kind of electrifying, whether it's Ainsley and Donna together or Stockard and CJ together. They're real highlights of the show whenever two of the female characters are allowed to speak to each other without a man being present in the conversation. Whether it's like a really serious dramatic scene like the one between Stockard and CJ last season, or whether it's just like a fun comedy beat like this one.
Yeah. There's a really nice check-in from CJ to Charlie again, talking about immunity. And I think it's really thoughtful that basically all of the gang are like, the reason why we're talking to you about this thing we know we're not supposed to talk to you about is because we think it's a more economically safe option for you. But something tells me that he'd never take immunity. That's just like not his vibe. And I saw something in this scene where I was like, oh, maybe the reason why he looked so small and young before when he was talking to Sam is I think they sized up his suit.
Which, if so, is a really smart costuming choice.
Isn't it? Like, he just looks like a kid dressed up to, like, go to an internship.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, he's always seemed so in control before. And, like, suddenly in these moments where they're talking about immunity with him, he very much looks like the 21-year-old.
Yeah, he looks like a kid. And I think, you know, it was obviously the fashion of the time, this kind of like boxier, more like oversized for men.
That's not previously been his look, though.
It's not been his look. And I think also it's been a while since we've seen him in a big suit jacket. I think often we've kind of seen him in like a knit polo or like just in his dress shirt without his kind of blazer over the top.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Charlie, not ever to be outdone, CJ's like, I'm going to go and change my clothes.
I'll watch.
That's my guy.
Do
you know what I mean? He's never going to not give a little twinkle.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, I know I'm stressed, but like, I still got it.
I just love also that we're just like fully acknowledging at all times how hot Alison Janney is.
Yeah. And that everyone who works with her is like, you know, like absolute smash.
But there is something about it. And I don't know what it is other than Bruno is the only one that's ever felt like he kind of crossed a line with it. It always feels utterly non-threatening from the rest of the male cast.
Yeah, definitely. It's just them being like, we know you know, but like, you look smoking.
Yeah.
Which is lovely friendship. You wrote something very interesting in the shared doc here, which I will ask you to say because it is very pertinent.
I was really pleased for CJ that she had time to change before the next press briefing because she had to do the previous press briefing in her cocktail attire in her one-shoulder dress, and I would have difficulty trying to do something serious and professional when I'm like dressed up in that feminine of a way.
Yeah, or just like, I think just like feeling like you're being insensitive, like, because I think if you're still in cocktail attire, it seems like you want to get away to get back to the thing.
Yeah.
Whereas getting changed is like, no, I'm here, like I'm at work. Like the present situation is the most pressing thing.
Yeah, and I think like especially talking about deaths, especially also in the color red is just, I think that was such a smart costuming choice to make it a dress that she looked so incredibly hot in.
Yeah.
Because if she'd been even wearing like one of the gowns that she wore in an earlier season, it wouldn't feel quite the same. You know?
We'll come back to that because that is
relevant. Yeah, I didn't expect it to get picked up back later in the episode.
So interesting. Because we need to meet Governor Buckland. So Governor Buckland was the governor that was at the basketball game with Victor Campos last week. And so it's nice to meet the man. But I am nervous when Josh is like, I'll just take the meeting alone.
I'm always nervous when Josh is unsupervised.
Yeah. And being like, I'll handle this.
But what makes me feel better about it as the scene goes on is we don't often see Josh in a tete-a-tete with somebody he actually likes and respects.
Yeah, it was a really well written scene. And actually the character of Governor Buckland, I think, was like very well fleshed out. And I I hope to see more of Governor Buckland.
He's a really interesting character, I think, for sure.
So we kind of get the information in this scene that Governor Buckland is going to be our primary challenger. And that's why he was kind of taking Campos to the basketball game.
Yes.
Which was kind of what we thought last week. There are some fantastic quotes in this. One such quote, which I think is the campest thing I've ever heard, is Josh saying, "I wouldn't know a spotted owl if he walked up and introduced himself." which I have a lot of time for, because I just think that it's very silly. Again, whimsy, very needed.
It feels very kind of Hemingway, you know?
Yeah.
Which you just know Hemingway is Josh's favourite author. You just know it.
I love that you were like, it seems very Hemingway. And I was like, it seems like something that Nathan Lane would say in like The Producers.
I also loved from Josh, he kind of addresses one of Buckland's staffers about a quote that she gave to the press and then just turns to her and said, "Were you misquoted?" Which is such a power move.
To be like, do you want to rethink that? Very good. Very good.
There's also a very fun in this scene tactical use of switching to Governor Buckland's first name of Jack.
Yeah.
Towards
to make
the
it
end
seem
of the scene.
like friendly, to make him seem less of a threat. Very good. Actually, like for all of our nervousness, like Josh did very well.
Yeah.
But we should meet Kimball, Congressman Kimball. He's an asshole, I think. I don't like it when people know how to wind Toby up. I think that makes me worried.
Yeah. Also, the phrase, "I came with a shopping list," is just so icky of like, and I'm sure it happens all the time, but being like, I see you're in a weak position, so I've come with all of my issues that I want dealt with so that you can get me on board.
Yeah, and I think this is the thing that I find frustrating about the way that politics is done, but that's just the way that it is, which is we'll be talking about one issue and someone will be like, "Oh, but if I oppose that and cause problems, I can just get a load of my own stuff sorted," which is so annoying because you're like, but you're just bartering then. I don't know. I guess that's the way of the world. Anyway, we'll go back to the press briefing. So CJ is handling the entertainment reporter who is asking quite a lot of questions. When you're like, I think CJ's beef is that she's like, there's no place for this reporter here. Like she's come because there's a state dinner, but like the reality is that she's stumbled into a huge story, which is this like unfolding event that has happened in Jerusalem. And like this space should be taken up by someone else.
Yeah. And I think it's frustrating to her that somebody who is asking her frivolous questions about her clothes is also someone who's trying to tactically catch her out on quite serious issues without a huge depth to the questions that she's asking. They're not being asked in good faith.
It's very like gotcha journalism, isn't it? I will say that the entertainment reporter in question is played by an actress called Mary Mara, who I love and I think is fantastic in this role. And any listeners out there who also love ER as much as I do will recognize her from ER as Loretta Sweet, who is a returning character in, I believe, sort of like seasons 1, 2, and 3, I guess.
You don't get enough Lorettas these days.
Oh, her character's phenomenal. And she has an amazing storyline. She's playing like a sex worker, single mother.
Whoa.
She's a fantastic actor.
Fee, I don't think I've mentioned to you, by the way, our patrons on the Discord, which you can have access to if you join some of the levels of our Patreon. On Discord, there is an entire thread that is ER crossover moments.
Stunning work from you all. I couldn't be more proud. I literally spent 4 hours last night watching ER because I finished work and it's like it's my comfort blanket. And someone was like, "Oh, like what are you watching?" And I was like, "Oh, I've just been watching some ER." And they were like, "Oh, like, is it long?" And I was like, I mean, there's quite a few seasons. And I suppose I have recently, over the last few months, watched over 90 episodes. Right.
Well, my thrilling moment is that Lizzie has finally said, after all we could find on Italian television while we were on holiday in Italy was Gilmore Girls dubbed in Italian.
Stunning.
I was trying to explain what was happening in the plot which we couldn't obviously
Wait,
understand.
she never watched Gilmore
She's never
Girls?
watched Gilmore Girls.
Whoa.
And I tried to get her to watch it when we were first dating, which I don't think she remembers. We watched like half of the first pilot episode, but she has now, after watching that random half an episode in Italian from like season 2, has been like, I would be up for watching Gilmore Girls, which feels like a huge win for me 2 years in.
I think that's a big moment in your relationship, frankly. Also, like, I just think Gilmore Girls is just something that you just every now and then you're just like, and then I just need to get one watch under the belt, you know? And I think beautifully as we grow older and as we grow as people, every time I watch it, I take something new from those women. And there's more stuff where I'm like, oh, I don't agree with that. Or like, oh, last time I watched that, I was really on this person's side. And now I feel like I feel this way.
It's very multi-layered.
I love a rewatch. Hence why we're here, Leigh.
Final point on Gilmore, well, 2 final points on Gilmore Girls before we go back to the show we're actually supposed to be talking about. First being that you have a birthday coming up and we are officially going to be entering the age that Lorelai is in season 1 of Gilmore Girls.
Whoa. Wow, that's really reframed my life for me. But I don't manage a successful inn in New England.
But what a delightful career that would be.
Honestly, and I also think I would be amazing at it.
You'd be amazing at it. As either Suki or Lorelai. The other point that I was going to make is it comes full circle to one of your first ever pieces of analysis on the West Wing, which was that it was simply Gilmore Girls for boys.
It is Gilmore Girls for boys. And actually, I still stand by that. Okay, let's get back into it. Because we are getting back into this kind of like main plot, which is the suicide bomber in Jerusalem. So enough with the frivolities, because I'm going to do a little bit of kind of historical context. So I didn't know a huge amount about this particular political relationship, if we'll call it, between these 3 countries. So I felt like I needed to do a bit of reading to kind of understand where we were culturally in 2001 when this episode aired. Like, what point of like political history were we at? What had just happened that meant that the West Wing team and Aaron Sorkin wanted to write about this event?
Because I think it's important context to say that you will have learned about the Israel-Palestine conflict from a British perspective, whereas I learned about it.
And Leigh, not even that, honestly.
Really?
In school, it's not covered. Or certainly not in the like school that I went to.
That's wild, given that Britain was so instrumental in the setting up of Israel.
It may have been covered. It may be covered in like different syllabuses if you were on different like exam boards. Because I did A-level history, which would have been the same level as your IB. And if it wasn't what you were going to do in the exam, then you just don't get taught about it.
That's so crazy to me.
Isn't it? It's I mean, it's fucked up how little you are taught about the history of your own country. Yikes.
I should say I learned about it. I can't speak to whether the American public school system teaches it generally, but I learned about it through the context of International Baccalaureate, because although I went to a public high school in Seattle, they randomly had International Baccalaureate.
And you're an overachiever, so Leigh was okay, bet.
I'm going to get my GED and my IB diploma at the same time,
baby. So yes, I think some historical context is needed here. So obviously in the time that has passed since the writing and airing of this episode, the political and the humanitarian situation in Gaza has changed. And this episode is discussing US, Israeli and Palestinian tensions as of 2001. And so it will probably likely be kind of playing on probably like Clinton era politics. So we're talking stuff like the Oslo Accords, which was followed by a long period of violence and the use of suicide bombers. And this was when Netanyahu was using his, in quotation marks, reciprocity policy. So it was a very like violent period of history. I think it's also probably relevant that you had stuff like the Wye River Memorandum, which was signed by Netanyahu and Arafat at the White House in the Rose Garden in 1998.
So that would be very fresh for kind of West Wing viewers in 2001.
With Clinton as its like official witness. And it's kind of this memorandum that's often criticized heavily for almost encouraging human rights violations from this point onwards. There was also a Camp David Peace Summit that was held in 2000, convened by Clinton in the US, and these talks completely collapsed, and it was kind of considered to be a huge mess up.
I mean, it is interesting then, carrying on, that obviously Hillary Clinton had a huge role in negotiations between Israel and Palestine in the Obama presidency as his Secretary of State. It is just insane when you think about one married couple have had such an impact for so long on the fates of the Palestinian and Israeli nations.
So we're sitting in the West Wing in this TV show at like a very turbulent political time for US foreign policy. So it feels like a very strong choice and a very political choice for the showrunners to be putting their fictional president into this scenario.
Mere weeks after 9/11.
Yeah. And so I'm like, ooh, you know, perhaps this is a reflection, because I don't know what it was like living in America in 2001. And so I feel like, this is perhaps a reflection on how big a part of the kind of political zeitgeist and like talking points of everyday Americans this was. Because I feel like that's what TV tries to do. It tries to reflect our lives back to us and give us a jumping off point, help us learn or help us express our emotions. So I found it very interesting in that respect, because I was like, oh, maybe, you know, if you were a 20-something and you were reading your newspaper every morning on your way to work, this is what you would have been reading about. And so it makes sense that your favorite TV show is covering that.
I think it was something I was certainly aware of as a 10-year-old moving to the States in kind of 2003, coming from Ireland, which I think naturally, given Irish history, Ireland tends to have a pro-Palestinian bias, generally speaking, on this issue. It was very noticeable to me, even as a child, that the discourse had a bias in the opposite direction moving to the States. And the fact that was like palpable as kind of a 10-year-old in this period, I think is really notable.
Yeah. We find out at this point in the episode that the bombing has been claimed by a Palestinian splinter group called in this TV show the Palestine Freedom Front. And that Leo is hoping basically for Israel not to retaliate before they've been able to open up talks. But Jed isn't so hopeful. And that's where we end that moment before we go back to our meeting with Kimball, talking about milk. The guy loves milk.
We've got a wide range of stakes here.
So the meeting with Kimball is not going well. And I think this was the scene where I was like, American politics is like bonkers because it's all about like, hey, I want some stuff for me, so I'm going to oppose you until you give it to me, and then I'll just flip back.
The fact that you can attach an amendment to a piece of legislation that has no bearing on the main legislation itself will never cease to be baffling to me.
That's, I think, what's crazy to me. Because I'm like, surely we should just be like talking about the thing that we're actively working on rather than being like, oh, this is about the estate tax. And someone's like, but what about milk? Josh is still in his meeting with Buckland. And this is when we find out a bit more information about Buckland and why the Bartlet kind of administration and campaign are so worried about him. So I would say that Governor Buckland is probably a similar age to Jed, but what's an interesting choice is that he's an ex-sports star and Olympian. And so Josh is like, we don't like your health. That's the thing. It's like, you know, Jed like outstrips you basically in a lot of stuff. But when it comes down to it, in the public eyes, Jed may be perceived of as being ill because of his MS. And you are this like healthy, like sports star who's like going out there and watching youth basketball games, who's like shooting hoops with the youngsters.
There are so many comps for Governor Buckland in kind of present day American politics, you know, of being like an ex-astronaut, ex-athlete is just, I think, always going to go down well with the American people as a later in life politician. But what I do love is that Josh is comfortable having a little bit of vulnerability in front of Governor Buckland and clearly likes and respects him, as we said before, and is borderline flirting with him, which was one of my favorite things about this scene. There's a line where Governor Buckland says, after Josh has kind of gone on a tirade about how upsetting it is that Governor Buckland is such a picture of health. Buckland just replies by saying, "Want to see me do some push-ups?" And Josh just kind of gives him a wry smile and says, "Yeah, that's what I want." It's crazy
Gorgeous.
from them both. It's crazy from them both.
They're having fun, you know what I mean? Keep it outside the classroom, guys. Sherry versus CJ. Let's get into it. So after kind of just dismissing her as kind of an airhead entertainment reporter, CJ has been absolutely taken to the cleaners by Sherry. And Sherry kind of is doing her like news report, which CJ's watching on TV. And Sherry's essentially insinuating that CJ couldn't answer questions in the press briefing because she wasn't up to date on information because she's been too busy changing her outfits. The quotation was, "CJ is known to be a bit of a clothes horse." And I think that's the kind of like gotcha journalism that we were talking about earlier. And it's so interesting because I feel like we in this show surround ourselves pretty much constantly with like, you know, Washington Post journalists. Like the press corps is like very like, like to give us the information, CJ.
It kind of gives a reverence to the White House press corps. Yeah.
It sort of drops a kind of Fox News before Fox News-esque person in there, I think was really interesting. CJ obviously is raging.
But I also love that she's like not upset about it because she's like, I've not lost this fight.
Yeah, like she doesn't know who she picked a fight with, I think is the energy, which is hot. And actually her exit line, I think, is it to Carol?
Yeah.
Was like, "I'll take care of it," which made me both afraid and turned on.
Yeah, I love that Carol is just kind of sat at her desk with CJ, just like watching this unfold. And Carol kind of goes, "Do you want me to take care of it?" And CJ's like, "No, I got it."
Yeah, amazing. Leo McGarry is playing baseball.
The man loves a sports metaphor. Loves a sports metaphor.
You know when he's just like, he's like in it and he's like, So we're having like a check-in on Congressman Kimball and Governor Buckland, and like Leo is done. And I think he's like, you can see this frustration that he's like finally recognizing that, you know, people like Buckland and Kimball are raising their head above the parapet because the administration is weak. And like, I think you can see, because Leo's, you know, so much of Jed's energy is going to be pulled now into kind of like campaign mode. I feel like Leo's like, well, I'm going to have to keep running the country. And like, I can't get anything done if people are just using this opportunity to just try and get their shit got through.
Especially like people fleeing from our own ranks. Yeah,
I think that's the thing is like, you know, the sinking Titanic. Is it in this episode that someone's like, I think we're putting deck chairs out on the Titanic?
Oh my God, I missed that, if so.
Yeah, that also could just be something that's happened in my own life that someone said, or potentially something someone said in ER. Anyway, I think the tactics from Leo, like his tactic change, which is like, I don't care if like we're the leak about, so they want to leak information about the veto, right?
They basically want to now go to Republicans and offer what Kimball is asking for
to them,
to see if they can get Republicans to flip back in their favor.
And because it's like, oh, well, if we get Kimball, we just get Kimball. But if we can flip this Republican, then like these 5 other Republicans will come with him.
Yeah.
Which is actually like a better, it's baseball, baby.
That's baseball.
So I like his tactic of like, I don't care if we're the leak. We have to show that people are pushing us around and we're not going to stand for it. And I think that is risky, but I feel like you do have to like give a show of force. I think the thing with the Bartlet administration is so often like, you know, we are the moral arbiters and like we're above like jostling politics. We're here to like put pen to paper and like make change. But actually sometimes you do have to be like, oh, by the way, we're trying to do that and people are making it really fucking hard for us. And you have to call people out on their bullshit.
Dare I say, let Bartlet be Bartlet.
Oh my God, Leigh, please let Bartlet be Bartlet.
I was absolutely dead at the savage takedown from Toby of Kimball, where he simply ends the discussion by saying, "We're going to need the room, Congressman. Would you mind?"
Yeah.
Because Kimball has walked into that room thinking that he's a baller, and Toby just so politely just absolutely annihilates him with that line. Playtime's over.
Like Sam and Toby at the end of that meeting, like Sam does some like really sexy politics and like really fucks Kimball over and like calls his bluff. And then like when Toby's like basically telling Kimball to get out of the room, like they're on fire. Both of them loved it.
I love that Toby has just accepted Sam as someone he can tag team with.
Finally. He's
2 seasons in, Sam has finally gained his respect.
I had an interesting question about Governor Buckland. Do you think because it felt like Josh was like, look, like, let's stay in the loop with each other. Do you think Buckland would go for vice? Do you think we'll see a world in which Hoynes leaves?
Well, I think that's an excellent question.
Like in your gut, if you were like, okay, from my knowledge of the TV show, we've done 4 years with Bartlet, Hoynes. Do you think the relationship that we've seen in the show so far speaks to Hoynes staying on for another 4 years? Or do you think that Bartlet's going to be like, let's get someone else in?
I think in the real world, a switch to Buckland would make a huge amount of sense.
Do people do that?
Oh yeah, people will have different running mates, different administrations.
Cool.
But I think they've set up Hoynes too much for us to lose him. I think that Hoynes is too good of a kind of slippery villain for the show, but also with some really deep vulnerabilities in his sobriety.
He's got more to give as a character,
He's got more of a dramatic arc to go on as a character, because we've really not seen him for a while.
No, but loads of things have been set up in motion that I feel like are going to come home to roost some point. Yeah. Really quick moment of conjecture, because we do see Stockard Channing in this episode for but a moment. And Leigh, that moment is just a moment in the residence. Abbey has a cold, so can't attend the dinner, which I feel like 100% her making up because she doesn't want to go to the state dinner.
I'm sick.
She still looks like a bombshell, like her hair's all like mussed up and she's just in like some sexy silky PJs.
I love Stockard being like, no, I will still have a full face of makeup.
Like, I know that I'm ill, but like, don't make me look bad.
Yeah.
And Jed's just like, I hope you're okay, honey. And she's like, go back to work. I'm okay.
I'm a petri dish.
Yeah.
Don't even look at me.
Like absolutely stealing the episode with one scene. But back to Buckland. So in this episode, all of these meetings are going on and essentially Donna keeps like knocking on the door to Josh's meetings and being like, Sam and Toby need more time. How can we stall the House basically so they don't vote before we flip people back? And I'm obsessed with Josh's knowledge of like how to gain time and waste time in the House.
It's amazing to finally see what got him the job.
Yeah, like his knowledge of like crazy protocol, which is like, oh, get someone to like say this thing, which means that then someone has to like read out this thing and that takes 10 minutes. It's really hot.
Yeah.
Like for like, yeah, like you say, it's like, it's so nice to see him do his job. But I am with Donna when she says, and it's hard to figure out why Congress can't get anything done.
Yeah, that's really real.
Yeah. Stressful.
I also love that we're using his backstory because we heard previously that he'd been a chief of staff for a member of Congress.
Now, the way that Josh ends this meeting with Buckland is he kind of very gently promises Buckland Labour Secretary. And I feel like he doesn't clear this with Leo before.
No.
So I think we just log this, Leigh, and put a pin in it because it feels like maybe in a few episodes' time this might come back and bite.
I think we'll be seeing Buckland again for sure.
Me too. So then we meet Congressman Royce, who is the Republican kind of equivalent to Kimball. And it was a big gamble, basically being like, fuck off, Kimball. We're going to see if Royce wants it. And it's a stressful, scary meeting. And Royce is like, do you even know who your friends are anymore? Yikes.
Yeah. It's not really in the spirit of bipartisanship, but fine.
No, we don't really get a kind of conclusion on Royce, really, do we? But let's kind of tie off this immunity chat with Charlie. So Leo's kind of the last one to check in with Charlie about immunity. And Charlie says, doesn't immunity imply guilt? If someone in my position took a deal to protect themselves, what would that person be saying to his employer? That they were wrong to trust him?
Don't be a hero.
Why not? I'll stay with my team. People should stop trying to get me to do that. Anyway, I'm not supposed to talk about it. We know that we love Charlie, but I think when Leo's given him the context, which is like, look, this is, if you choose not to take immunity, first of all, the economic impact of that is going to be huge in terms of how much it's going to cost you to be represented. Also, if it goes badly for you, you could be barred from going to law school, which is what we know you want to do. And yet Charlie's like, no, I want to stand with my team.
Oh, it's so devastating.
I know. Lee, you've written something in the shared document I'd just like you to speak to, if that's okay.
I think I was a little bit hormonal when I was watching the episode. What I've written is, if I raise a son with the morality of Charlie Young, it will be my greatest life's work.
No, but like more men should be more Charlie Young.
Be more Charlie, please.
Please. The news from Nancy in the sit room is that the kind of organizing group behind the bombing have been arrested. And that's basically bought us 24 hours to like work on this problem. So Leo's, you know, there's a little bit of time for Leo to work. But we should really, as this episode closes out, kind of end with the continuing HR nightmare, which is Josh like coming up to Donna, like whipping off his bow tie and having her change it for a pre-tied one, which he should have just done at the start. And Donna being like, look, I can't not talk to you about this anymore. I just need to like come clean and tell you that I went on a date. And you again, you see this twinkle from Josh, which is like, why are you telling me you went on a date? Like, you're trying to clear it with me, and him secretly loving it. And then she says who she went on a date with, which is Cliff, and like where Cliff works.
Yeah, which is the House Oversight Committee, which is going to be leading the congressional investigation into the cover-up of Jed's MS, which is kind of a big deal.
Huge deal. And Josh loses it.
It's verging on Edward Cullen's White Knuckles in biology in the first Twilight film. The loosening of his shirt as Donna is speaking is so intense. He looks like he's choking on what Donna just said.
Yeah. Now, I think the thing for me is like, there is obviously there's a portion of this response, there's a percentage of this response, which is the political implication of it all.
There's a portion of this response that is entirely justified. But then he refers to Donna's date as the Congress investigation that I am battling.
Yeah. Don't you mean you're
not
president?
In a personal fight to the death?
Don't you mean you're president and that you and your entire team is involved in? I think the repetition of you can't see him anymore was quite a lot. Yeah. Anyway, CJ's final takedown of Sherry.
Incredible.
Amazing. And like, at a press briefing in front of everyone, CJ's like, basically Sherry asks a question and CJ's just like, do you know the information? Like, what do you know?
Do you know how many members of Congress there are?
But like, so valid. And I think that's the important thing about why it's so perfectly pitched, is it's a very simple question that Sherry should know the answer to if she's standing in that press briefing room. And Sherry can't answer it. And also CJ's wearing an amazing suit.
She's wearing like a wide leg navy pantsuit, and it's absolutely stunning. I love that she's being allowed to wear pants. We were very much kind of regimented in a skirt suit for the first season, I felt. Yeah.
And then Sherry kind of like corners CJ and is like, what the hell? Like that was like totally out of line. And CJ's like, get out of my fucking face, basically.
What she says is, hunting season for me is over.
Yeah, no notes. Absolutely crushed it, Aaron. Absolutely crushed it. We close out in a very solemn fashion in the Oval, which is kind of discussing how the team are going to frame the deaths of these two American citizens, these two boys who are brothers. And it does feel like the show is getting darker and darker. And like, you know how last week we were like, the storm's rolling in. I don't think the storm's even hit yet.
Yeah.
I'm scared. So like, I think in conclusion, great episode, a touch of whimsy. I think I like my episodes to have a touch more whimsy, but the kind of stuff that we were chomping into, like a Buckland, Kimball, I'm really here for that. So long may it continue.
We feel like a very long way away from the Thanksgiving episode of last season with
the turkeys.
Like we feel tonally in a very different place.
Truly. Shall we jump into the quickfires?
Please.
Best fashion.
I think I would absolutely agree with you that CJ in the red gown has to win it. But I would also like to offer honourable mention to her navy wide leg pantsuit later in the episode.
My honourable mention obviously goes to Abbey Bartlet's nightwear.
So fair. Yeah.
What could a British or Irish politician never get away with?
I think that you have absolutely nailed it when you say
it was a tough one. Yeah.
Being so earnest about grazing and milk without it seeming fake.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Kimball really did care about milk.
He really cared about milk, yeah.
But that's a whole political thing in America, isn't it? Like children having milk.
Yeah.
You know?
It's been a big theme in the West Wing.
That's a big thing in America, right? Children having milk. That's the... I need to get out more. I need to talk to more people because I think I've lost it. We have a new quickfire question that's going to join us this season, which came about, if any of you came on the journey with us to Hollywood in our very sort of silly summer semester of...
Which I don't think many of you did.
And that's fine. Hey, that's fine. We had fun. I'm so sorry. We're back in the West Wing, I promise. We won't do that again. But we had a new quickfire question, which was the queerest moment that never intended to be queer. And so we've decided to add that into the kind of roster now. So Leigh, what was your queerest moment that never intended to be queer?
Want to see me do some push-ups?
Yeah, I think it
From
is.
Governor Buckland.
Yeah. That's 100% a winner. Mine, I think, was, I wouldn't know a spotted owl if he walked up and introduced himself. Just because to me, that's very kind of like 1950s movie, like campery. Best writerly moment?
I'm going to go ahead and say Jed's callback to CJ's previous discussion of table salt.
Yes.
Yeah.
NaCl, CJ.
What?
Table salt. Send it back.
Beautiful.
Yeah, amazing. I think my favorite writerly moment was from CJ's press briefing at the top when she's like, the revenue from which helps fund frivolous democratic spending programs such as teaching people to read and curing disease. Very good. Man, I feel like a man.
Again, want to see me do some push-ups?
Yeah, no, it covers both in a really nice way.
Yeah.
I think mine was just, you should learn how to tie a bow tie.
The audacity.
Yeah. And then I had a very strong moment that made me proudest to be an American. And I'm really glad that you've just categorically agreed with me.
Charlie Young, every damn time.
Just the character Charlie Young.
Yeah.
And I don't think we need to say more because I feel like all wingnuts agree.
Yeah, fully, 100%.
Excellent. Is it time to learn, Leigh?
Yes, it is. And I wanted to speak today. I think, other much more expert voices can speak to the 150 years of what has happened in Israel and Palestine. But what I did want to speak to was what's been actually happening in the UK recently and in the city where I live in London, which is to do with Palestine action and the protests that have been happening in London. And I wanted to speak to the stories of the protesters who have been arrested. I thought it might be interesting for our actually kind of mostly American audience, hello Americans, to hear about the response that's been happening in the UK to the current situation in Gaza. So on the 20th of June, Palestine Action inflicted £7 million worth of damage on 2 Voyager aircraft at RAF Bryce Norton, spray painting 2 of the aircraft red to represent the British military's role. And as a result, MPs voted overwhelmingly in favour of banning Palestine Action as a terror group, which was a motion put forward by then Home Secretary Yvette Cooper, which effectively made membership of Palestine Action or even showing support for Palestine Action a criminal offense punishable by up to 14 years in prison, making Palestine Action the first non-violent organization to ever be banned under the Terrorism Act of 2000. And it puts Palestine Action in the same category as Al-Qaeda and ISIS. The Defense Secretary, John Healey, told Sky News that he expects the newly appointed Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, to be just as tough as Yvette Cooper on Palestine Action. And he said, I expect her to defend the decision the government has taken to prescribe Palestine Action because of what some of its members are responsible for and were planning for. A Defense of Juries spokesperson said Yvette Cooper has launched the biggest attack on our civil liberties in living memory, and it's backfired spectacularly. Now Yvette Cooper is no longer Home Secretary. The ban must go with her. This shows the new Home Secretary on her first day in office that the Palestine Action ban is impossible to enforce and a preposterous waste of resources. The spokesperson then continued, the terrorism laws were not designed to be wielded against a domestic protest group or to arrest thousands across civil society for holding cardboard signs, which we will get into.
Yeah.
The Met Police have previously said that the consequences for those charged under the Terrorism Act can include a maximum sentence of up to 6 months imprisonment. Now, I mentioned Defend Our Juries, which has been organizing protests to protest the ban of Palestine Action as a protest group. And just to clarify who Defend Our Juries are, they identify themselves by saying juries of 12 randomly selected citizens put the moral intuitions of ordinary people at the heart of the criminal justice system. Over the last few years, when juries have heard evidence of why people have taken direct action to advance climate or racial justice or to stop genocide in Gaza, they have repeatedly reached non-guilty verdicts. These verdicts are deeply embarrassing to the government and the arms and oil industries, contradicting the narrative that the public supports the crackdown on protest. Lobbyists for the arms and oil industries, such as Policy Exchange, embedded within the government, have been working to put a stop to them. As a result, extraordinary measures have been taken that violate the most basic principles of natural justice and the right to a fair trial. People have been banned from using the words climate change in court and jailed just for defying that prohibition. Normally available legal defenses have been removed, turning jury trials into show trials in which juries have no meaningful role to play. People have been arrested and prosecuted for displaying the centuries-old constitutional principle of jury equity, the principle that a jury can acquit a defendant as a matter of conscience, irrespective of the directions of the judge. One judge in February even threatened a jury with criminal proceedings if they applied their conscience to the facts of a climate protest case. And the UN has said that what's happening in the UK is not acceptable in a democracy, and that it violates international law. So Defend Our Juries is defending the rights of the people to acquit on the basis of conscience, and also defending the right of the people to protest and take direct action. And one of their kind of missions at the moment is the Lift the Ban movement, which is to lift the ban on Palestine Action so that it can be deprescribed as a terrorist organization. And saying that it's vital that that campaign succeeds, not just for Palestine Action, but for democracy.
Yeah.
I think there's a huge conversation, rightly so, in the United States, and always has been historically, about freedom of speech. And I think that this is one of the first times that it has been as much of a discussion in the UK as it is in the United States.
Yeah, I would agree.
Defend Our Juries goes on to say, in describing the Lift the Ban campaign, once the meaning of terrorism is separated from campaigns of violence against a civilian population and extended to include those causing economic damage or embarrassment to the rich, the powerful, and the criminal, then the right to freedom of expression has no meaning and democracy is dead. Now, Lift the Ban, under the umbrella of Defend Our Juries, has held protests in the UK on the 5th of July, the 12th of July, the 20th of July, and the 9th of August. And people have been arrested for holding signs that say, I oppose genocide, I support Palestine Action. On the 9th of August, a total of 532 people were arrested. Half of the people arrested during the protest were aged 60 or above, according to the Met Police's own figures.
Yeah.
The age breakdown released by the Metropolitan Police revealed that 100 of those detained, oh my God, I'm going to get emotional. 100 of those detained were in their 70s. 15 were in their 80s of the 500 plus people arrested, some of whom were still waiting on confirmation of their date of birth. But yeah, half were 60 or older. Just to cover some of the individuals who were arrested at this protest. Chris Romberg, aged 75, and a former British Army officer, colonel, and military attaché to the UK embassies in Egypt and Jordan, and the son of a Holocaust survivor, was arrested under Section 13 and bailed. He said, "This is a serious assault on our freedoms." Sir John Porritt, also 75, and a former government advisor, has been quoted as saying that he's been very concerned for a long time about the erosion of civil liberties. He was also arrested, and he said the prescription of Palestine action is a measure of the government's desperation and entirely inappropriate, and thought that it was an overreach by the Home Secretary trying to eliminate the voices of those concerned about Gaza, and a clear case of the government using its powers to crush dissenting voices.
Yeah.
Also among those arrested on the 9th of July was Mike Higgins, who is 62, uses a wheelchair, and describes himself as totally blind with additional hearing and physical impairments. The video that was taken of his arrest has gone viral on social media. And Mike Higgins himself said that his arrest starkly highlights what an absolute waste of time the prescription of Palestine action is for the state, the taxpayers, and police resources. He said, "It's not about me. It's not even about anti-terrorism laws. It's about trying to stop the killing in Palestine."
Yeah.
By 2 p.m., the nonviolent demonstration was over and people began to leave. Mike Higgins said the police were systematically going from the back of the crowds, digging people out and arresting them. People got to their feet, those who could anyway, and clapped and applauded. However, police then decided to capture people as they were leaving the square. I wasn't displaying the sign, but I was carrying it under my arm. I was asked whether I knew what the sign said. I said I didn't know. He was arrested under Section 13 of the Terrorism Act of 2000. He was taken through the square by the police because the nearest exit from where the demonstration was wasn't accessible. This meant that a large crowd gathered around the officers who were arresting him, who chanted, "Shame on you." Mike Higgins said they were rightly angry about the fact that the police were arresting people, and in particular, a 62-year-old blind, physically disabled man. Mike Higgins is currently on bail until October, and he told officers while he was being arrested and put in the back of the police car that by law, any written communications to him about his arrest have to be sent to him in Braille. And he said, "We'll wait to see if that happens." Then last week, at time of recording, the police arrested 7 key Defend Our Jury's spokespeople in dawn raids across the country, including a former government lawyer and Defend Our Jury's co-founder, Tim Crossland, in connection with hosting public Zoom calls, providing legal briefings. 6 people were held for over 24 hours, which is more than the custody time limit. In the UK, you're only allowed to hold people for 24 hours without charging. The Crown Prosecution Service requested that they were remanded to prison, but a judge rejected that and granted them bail with a tagged curfew. All 7 have now been released, but after being charged with a mixture of Section 12(2) and Section 12(3) of the Terrorism Act. Which takes us to Saturday, the 6th of September, 2025, when an estimated 1,500 people took part in a protest in Parliament Square in Westminster. Again, a non-violent protest of people holding signs saying, "I oppose genocide, I support Palestine." Harriet Williamson of Novara Media, which if you're interested in this subject, I would highly recommend following Novara Media on socials and checking out their website. They have, I think, done some really important reporting about what's currently happening in the UK. And I think crucially, they've posted a lot of videos to social media so that you can kind of see for yourself where descriptions of the nature of the protest are factual or not factual. Mm-hmm. But writing for Novara Media, Harriet Williamson wrote, "As the day unfolded, there was a sense of complete calm amongst the mostly elderly people taking part in the demonstration, organized by Defend Our Juries to protest the controversial prescription of nonviolent direct action group Palestine Action. Protesters were seated peacefully and quietly on the floor, some in camping chairs, from before 1 p.m. till well into the night. Novara Media documented police tactics of 20 plus officers moving in squadrons to arrest a single elderly person. The arrests happened one by one at a slow pace and continued for 8 hours. According to the Met Police, 890 people were arrested, although they only announced that that's a rise in number from, they announced on Saturday that they had arrested 425. That then rose to 890. And they called the operational plans effective, despite the fact that prior to the protest, they'd claimed that they would arrest everyone there, which they did not. In a statement released before the protests, the Met Police claimed that they had the officer numbers, custody capacity, and all other resources necessary to arrest everyone. The Met was also forced to backtrack on similar claims in the August protest. The majority of arrests were for supporting Palestine Action as a prescribed group, while the police have claimed 17 people were also arrested for assaults on the police after, quote, the protest turned violent. But the organizers of the protest, Defend Our Juries, said the protesters were peacefully defying the ban and accused the Met Police of false claims about violence. The Deputy Assistant Commissioner, Claire Smart, who led the policing operation, thanked the Met Police officers for their professionalism and tireless work despite the level of abuse that they faced. She said, the violence we encountered during the operation was coordinated and carried out by a group of people, many wearing masks to conceal their identity, intent on creating as much disorder as possible. Many of those individuals have now been arrested and we have begun securing charges. What I will say is, from the videos that I have seen of Saturday, I do not see what she is describing. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood said supporting Palestine and supporting a prescribed terrorist group are not the same thing. And she said in a social media post that it was an honor to observe Saturday's policing operation on a visit to the Met's control room. Again, almost half of those arrested were over the age of 60, according to figures released by the Met. To highlight the stories of some of those of whom were arrested on Saturday, they included Steve, a disabled RAF veteran using a walker. Sue Parfitt was arrested on Saturday after sitting with her sign for more than 6 hours. She had previously been arrested at the first ever protest on the 5th of July, and she was aware that attending the protest was a breach of her bail conditions. She said, we might be getting nearer the goal, which is to get Palestine Action not prescribed as a terrorist organization, because it isn't a terrorist organization. And that's a good signal to our brothers and sisters who are suffering so terribly in Gaza and Palestine. I want to be sure that I am on their side. Sue Parfitt, who I just quoted, is an 83-year-old Anglican priest, Reverend Sue Parfitt. While the arrests were being made, members of the public were shouting shame on the Met Police, asking them how they felt about arresting elderly people. As one elderly man was taken away, a bystander shouted, "That could be your grandfather." Several women ranging in age from 66 to 78 told Novara Media that they felt a duty as the older generation to put themselves on the line. Veteran peace activist and Nobel Peace Prize nominee Angie Zelter, who is 74, told Novara Media that she thought the police were just hoping we all go away, but most of us are quite old and we're determined to stay, to put pressure on this government to stop aiding and abetting genocide. And she said that the footage of elderly people being dragged away shows the public that there is something very broken in our society. 67-year-old teacher and daughter of a Holocaust survivor, Carolyn Gellinter, was mid-interview speaking about how not all Jewish voices are being heard when officers detained her. There's a video of her arrest where you can see an officer saying, "I'm sorry, but we're going to have to make an arrest at the moment." She replies by saying, "I'm the daughter of a Holocaust survivor," but he is unmoved. You can see in the video Carolyn being read her rights, but she drops to the floor before being carried away by about 6 police officers. She spoke to the Metro after she was released on custody, and she said that despite being arrested for the first time, she feels so strongly about the issue that she would do it again, and said, "I think this is a shocking authoritarian law." Carolyn is a great-grandmother. And she said that the people from Palestine Action who were caught damaging RAF planes should be charged with criminal damage, not terrorism offences. Mm-hmm. She said, "I am just so incensed. I felt I had to do something because it feels so important. This is a really draconian law. As a Jew, and lots of Jews ask themselves this question, I ask myself, what would I have done if I was living in Nazi Germany? I have an answer now. I'm driven. I really sat down and thought about it. I didn't do it on the spur of the moment, but my heart said, you have to step up." She was released from Plumstead Police Station at about midnight and has to return on the 17th of November to find out whether she's being charged. Bob, a 71-year-old retiree and Quaker wearing a pinstripe suit, told Novara Media that he was there to protest the inappropriate and unjustified application of the Terrorism Act, and said Palestine Action is not a terrorist organization. He also said that he had chosen to dress smartly for the protest because he wanted to show that he was taking the event seriously, and his decision to be there was deliberate and measured. Defend Our Juries again stated that the demonstrations on the 6th of September were the picture of a peaceful protest. Defend Our Juries said in a statement after Saturday that officers had violently assaulted peaceful protesters, including the elderly, in order to try and arrest over 1,000 people for holding cardboard signs. They said that the demonstration showed that this Palestine Action ban was impossible to enforce and a preposterous waste of resources. They also said in a statement on Saturday that this is a huge embarrassment for Sir Mark Rowley, who claimed that the Met would arrest every single person who held a sign saying, "I oppose genocide, I support Palestine Action." As of the updated statistics, they did arrest the majority, but not all. And they continue to say there are simply too many people who oppose this utterly dystopian ban and the government's complicity in Israel's genocide. The Defense Secretary, John Healey, said in response, if we want to avoid a two-tier policing and justice system in this country, when people break the law, there have to be consequences. And that's what was happening yesterday. And almost everybody shares the agony when we see the images of Gaza, the anguish when we see the man-made starvation. And for people who want to voice their concern and protest, I applaud them. But that does not require them to link it to support for Palestine Action, a prescribed group. A Defend Our Jury spokesperson again said that the Met's claims of violence were frankly laughable and accused the Met of failing to provide evidence for the violence. And the Press Association reported that officers drew their batons during clashes, forced their way through crowds carrying arrested protesters, and had screaming arguments with demonstrators. I will also say that a Metropolitan Police officer speaking anonymously to Novara Media said that enforcing the ban on Palestine Action made them feel sick and ashamed. And the Police Federation spokesperson highlighted the risk of burnout to officers and that they are emotionally and physically exhausted, and the demand is relentless and not sustainable. The Home Office is set to appeal against the High Court ruling allowing Palestine Action's co-founder Huda Amori to proceed with a legal challenge against the government over the group's ban. I realized that was a lot, but I felt the need to, I think it's very important to me that we listen to our elders. And I think when elderly people are putting themselves at risk of arrest, they deserve our attention.
Yes. So I feel like probably the best thing to do, Leigh, is just leave the episode there.
Yeah, I think so. And I send my greatest love and gratitude to all of those 60 plus people who, I suppose, being maybe towards the end of their life or the end of their careers, certainly, are maybe able to take that risk in a way that people who still very much have the bulk of their working life ahead of them might not be able to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. Thank you so much for compiling all of that information. I feel like it's always good to do a lot of reading, do a lot of listening, and then take some time and do some digesting. We will be back again next week with another episode. But I guess until then, I'll see you next week, Leigh, and stop the genocide.
Stop the genocide, free Palestine.